not bowled for for a long period of time, so I don't know how the body will react when I bowl the first ball. Not in our team, everywhere complaining the ball is swinging, but the ball is supposed to swing and the ball is supposed to do something.
On him, you miss, I hit, says Jasprit Bumrah.
Well, that's how good he has been.
Tried the longer run up, nothing changes. The speed is still the same, so why to run so much?
Oh yes, perfect Yorkers and searing pace. Bang bang goes Bumrah.
No use of saliva, no high-fiving, no hugging. When cricket restarts, how are you going to cope? And talk to the fans for me.
I was not much of a hugger anyway when we used to play a lot of cricket, so that doesn't really trouble me a lot.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Interviews Inside Out, and I'm joined today by two very special guests, very, very special people. I'll start off with the youngest of the trio, Jasprit Bumrah, the Indian international fast bowler who's had a meteoric rise to international cricket, an excellent multi-format bowler. Jasprit, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we're also chaperoned by a former South African captain, one of South Africa's great cricketers, an excellent seam fast bowler in his own right, Shaun Pollock. Shaun, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to you.
Hello, Bish. Good to be here.
Jasprit, let me start with you. How has lockdown been in India, given the pandemic that has affected almost every country across the globe?
Yeah, it's I guess the same for everyone. It's been a little different. We've never experienced something like this before, but yeah, it's difficult sometimes. It tests your patience, but I find a way. I've found a way by training at home, doing something or the other, trying to keep myself busy, because the situation outside is not the best. So probably try to keep your mind diverted, and probably that helps me to, form a routine and go forward.
Jasprit, for an elite sportsman, you spoke about the challenges there. Just talk about how difficult that has been, almost being in this confined space and trying to keep your fitness levels where you want them to be.
It's a lot different because we've never faced such a situation before. So I really don't know, when you don't bowl for 3 months or 2 months, how does the body react? But yes, you have to keep your body ready. You have to keep maintaining it. So not many people have many facilities available. We are privileged people. We have some facilities available. We have our home gym. So we are trying to, you know, try to keep up with the training, try to do something or the other. So keep the body ready. So as soon as the grounds open up, as soon as we could train, so the body is in decent shape. So yeah, it's difficult, but you're just trying to find out a way. But yeah, I've been training almost 6 days a week, but yeah, not bowled for a for a long period of time. So I don't know how the body will react when I bowl the first ball. I don't know when, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, and trying to keep the body at a decent shape. So probably when we start, it should be okay back then.
Jasprit, you had the injury before. You were out for a while. Was it a back niggle? And are you quite conscious of making sure that you're doing extra work in that department to make sure that when you get back, everything's good to go?
Yeah, the injury was a lot. So basically, it was very. I don't know what actually was happening, because there was not a lot of pain, but it was more of a conservative move, that there was some difficulty, some stiffness here and there. So we took the conservative approach, and we we're just trying to make it stronger, because that was the time that we thought that we could make it a little stronger. So yeah, we were just taking the conservative route, and could have been back earlier, but yeah. There was no pain, so there's nothing difficulty was there on my back that I was focusing on. This I was just focusing on a break that I had gotten because of a small niggle. So I was focusing on the whole body development at that time.
Yeah, having been one that has suffered, I had stress fractures very early in my career and on a couple of occasions. So I understand the trauma that back injuries can bring. And at an advanced age, I found it very, very difficult as the years went by to get back to peak fitness and to get back there quickly. Jasprit, when you went to New Zealand, talk us through a little bit about how that experience was coming off that back injury.
So I guess We earlier thought that it was a stress fracture, but I was lucky that it was not giving me any pain and there was no difficulty. So if there's no physical pain, so there's no limitation. So you won't hold yourself back. If there's some physical pain, then the body tells you to hold back. But for me, in that aspect, I was a little lucky. There was no pain as such. So I was not holding myself back. As soon as I came back, yes, maybe 1 or 2 games, you give yourself a little bit of time. But as soon as 1 or 2 games went by, I was never holding myself back. And going to New Zealand, playing all 3 formats, it was a different experience. I went to New Zealand for the first time, so yeah, it was a different challenge, and yeah, it was good. It was a good learning out there when I went to New Zealand.
I want to get to both of you guys. As we go back to our formative years, my own experience was about interacting with Sir Andy Roberts, as he's called now, in a coaching stint when I was about 16 years old, and him giving me some tips on getting my wrist into a strong position, getting my outswinger going. Jasprit, in terms of your technique from a very early age, bowling technique that is, what were the key things that formed and forged that unusual action?
So basically, I've never been coached a lot. I never did any kind of professional coaching. I never went to any professional camps. All my cricket till date has been self-taught. Nobody has even given me the proper guide. Oh, this is how you do, this is how you bowl. So everything I've learned is through television, maybe watching videos. So I don't know how this action developed. There's no proper reasoning, but yeah, there's always some people doubting that we should change it or not. But I've never really maybe listened to them quite a lot. But yeah, kept on working on it, kept on developing on my strengths, and always had the belief that it could work if I have the belief in it.
Bowl! Bumrah! They call him to deliver. And boy, he delivers every time.
Boom, boom, Bumrah.
Shaun, you saw him very early while you were still at the Mumbai Indians, didn't you? What did you notice?
Yeah, it is an unusual action. I'm actually wanting to ask him who he watched on the TV that made him bowl in that sort of way. And also, was there anything that influenced the length of your run-up? Because I know Makantini, he was given some sparks when he was 14 or 15 years old, but the pitch he played on in his hometown was actually concrete. So he had to bowl from wide on the crease in order to make sure he didn't slip on the concrete with his sparks on. Is there anything like that kind of story for you? And who was it on the TV that you watched and you thought, that's the action I want to copy, or that's the one I want to try and emulate?
So there's not a particular bowler, but playing in the backyard. So the run up is because of that. So we didn't have a lot of space when I used to play as a child. So this was the only space that we had. So this was the longest run up that you could have while playing at the backyard. So this could be a reason. And I've tried the longer run up. Nothing changes. The speed is still the same. So why to run so much? This was my only idea behind it. And and then yeah. Any bowler back then, when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of cricket on the television. Any bowler who's picked up 5 wickets, his action I would copy in the backyard. So it could be any bowler. There's no specific bowler that this is the bowler I wanted to copy.
That is fascinating because it takes me back, Shaun. It's an excellent question. It takes me back to when I started with a little group of friends that I had at school, and we used to go in the Queen's Park Savannah, which is right next door to the Queen's Park Oval where international cricket is played. And I used to try to run up like Michael Holding, deliver like Joel Garner, follow through like Malcolm Marshall, and all of those sorts of eclectic mixes came in to an action. Shaun, who forged yours? You're asking Jasprit, but who forged yours?
Well, I was fortunate. I was different. I had the coaching at an early age. So my dad gave me the basics, and I didn't have much chance. I had to get the arm as high as possible. That was what he told me, had to come from the highest point. So in many ways, he left me to get onto my own sort of devices at that stage. But watching, we had Graham Dilly played for Natal at that time, Hartley Lane. I used to try and copy him running in with these like high arms and then getting it to skinny. We had Collis King, we had Rupert Hanley, we had Clive Rice. Trevor Packer was a brilliant bowler for Natal. Some of these names you might not know. But yeah, we used to go and watch at the ground, and at the lunch break, whoever was bowling at that time, we'd try and emulate them, try and get into the certain positions. So I think those things are actually good for you growing up when you try those different actions. Even when I worked at the Mumbai Indians, I can remember trying to. Mamali was struggling a little bit with trying to get the new ball to swing away up front, and I now had to come as the coach to try and come up with an idea as well. How are we going to get into his brain and get him into the right position to get it to swing? I mean, there's certain concepts about it's got to come out the wrist in the right position in order to shape away, and he was brilliant for the seasons before. And I ended up going to the nets one day and I spent about 10, 15 minutes trying to bowl like Mully, coming from a real round arm action, but then fiddling with my wrist position to see how I could possibly give him a little bit of advice. And yeah, I think all those things do teach you about the body. And I think one of the great attributes that we've probably all had is the ability to watch TV and then go from the television set, go into the back garden and try and do what they're doing, try and get that feeling, that action, and try and improve on it as you go along. But yeah, I think it's so nice. I mean, it's not the MCC coaching manual, that's for sure, but it's beautiful that you've got these different actions that can be so effective. But on your action, initially when you came in, I mean, you get quite close to stumps and then end up bowling from quite wide. I noticed on a series that Bish would have probably worked on in the West Indies, you almost got your wrist into such a good position that you started to get these big booming in-swingers to the left-handers. Was that something you were really conscious about and you felt like you had to add to your game?
For me, I always want to bring new things to my game. So because I think that if you have a different action, maybe you're unusual, maybe once or twice people would, but look, with nowadays so much of video footages, no, so much of homework being going around, so people would find you out. So for me, I always want to improve, keep on evolving. So I always had the outswinger, but when I came into the international setup, I was not very confident of it because maybe it was not going out really well. You keep on developing with it. The pace should you should have the feel of it. Maybe you're not that confident of delivering it in the game. So slowly, slowly you keep on improving, keep on practicing in the nets, and then slowly you get confident. So I was trying to work on it, but yeah, in the West Indies the conditions were helpful, the ball was helpful, so we were able to swing the ball. So yeah, this is something that I always try to do, try to add new things, so maybe that would always help me in wherever situation that I go.
Yeah, just tell us about the balls. Obviously, there's the Dukes that are used in England and in the West Indies. You guys with the SG, the Kookaburra. Are you a fan of the Dukes and the SG rather than the Kookaburra? And do you find you get more shape with those different balls?
Absolutely, I love bowling with the Duke ball. It does a lot, it seams, it swings. So basically, I when you have a little bit of help, that does help because nowadays it's very difficult to be a fast bowler. The grounds are getting shorter, the wickets are getting flatter. So if the ball does something, so it makes an even competition. So you would always want to have that help and maybe make it an even competition. So then you always feel that you're in the game and you could play a major role while bowling because if there's no help, then you've got very, very few things to play with. So yeah, it then becomes a lot more difficult for a bowler. So yeah, I enjoy bowling with the Duke ball a lot more than any other ball that I've bowled with.
I'm not going to allow you to let Shaun get away that easily with that question about the outswinger because prior to that West Indies tour, I saw you on Sky Sports talking about the fact that Keaton Jennings was leaving a lot of your deliveries going away, and he was obviously listening to the television commentary. So this outswinger was in your pocket since then.
Yes, it was there since even in the 2016 World Cup, T20 World Cup, I bowled one in swinger to Chris Gayle. So that was the first time where I basically tried bowling an in swinger to the left hander, that is the outswinger. But yeah, I was not so confident of it because you don't know how much if you'll have the zip, if it will swing so much, if you're that confident of it. I had it, but I keep on practicing, and then practicing in the nets. So when I was in England, I did not play the first two test matches because I had a thumb injury. So I was bowling in the nets, but I was not able to play the games. So back then, that was my first experience with the Duke ball, and the ball was swinging in the net. So then I became more confident. I kept on bowling the outswinger in the nets. So that gave me a lot of confidence. So then, hearing to the commentary as well that maybe if they're listening and if they don't know I have the outswinger, then probably it could go into my advantage and probably use it.
You used it well. I just want to ask both of you, though. Shaun, let me start with you. You must be getting so much advice coming through the system as a young cricketer, a young fast bowler. Advice from all areas, even though Jasprit talked about watching television. How do you sift through what is good advice and what is advice you need to discard?
Yeah, I think it's vital, Bish, particularly for a young fast bowler. You do have to learn the art of listening. I think you need to listen to everyone, but you need to be able to decipher which is going to be appropriate for you and your action and what you need to take on board. And then you also have to be brave enough at times to just discard certain information that people will give you. I mean, I know I went to academies and training camps that they had when I was younger and growing up, and Jasper probably benefit from the fact that he didn't have overexposure to those different kind of people because they didn't try and tinker with his action. And now that he's at the top level, you can just modify things or maybe do a few little changes to really help him excel. But I do think you do have to have the art, and it can be difficult. I was told, unless I didn't bowl massive in a way swinger at the start of my career, and I was told if you can't bowl in the way swinger, you'll never play provincial, never mind international cricket. And I can remember going away from one of those academies thinking, gosh, that's it, my career's done. I can't really bowl in the way swinger. I went and tried to work on it. But my first 2 or 3 years of provincial and international cricket, I didn't really have the ability to do it. So you can work with what you've got, but it is vitally important. I'd definitely be open to listening to everyone's advice, their grip positions, how they hold it, how they did their business. But you do have to learn the art of working out what's good for you and what you have to discard.
Jasprit?
Yeah, for me, I see different kind of actions. People have told me to change certain things. So, but I have changed certain things, but people have not noticed it. So, when I started in 2013, I started playing in the IPL. So I used to jump out a lot, but while bowling, small minor changes. If I would always try to do, if there was giving me some back trouble, then I should change something. So this is the thing that I've always looked to do. If it's not giving you any trouble, if there's no difficulty and if it works for you, then I keep on um, you know keep on doing it. And I listen to a lot of advice. I'm very inquisitive. I always ask questions that what do you think, what do I think, and I try to ask a lot of questions to all the senior players, all the coaches that I work with. So getting a general feedback, filtering the advice, I try to emulate certain things, and if it works for me, then I try to do it, and if it doesn't, then you have to let it go.
You're talking about the senior players and how you interact with them. I think in India's team, you're very fortunate at this stage to have some really healthy competition for places, whether it be the T20, one day, or Test format. When you talk about the senior guys, you would be classed as a junior, not in your performance, but in your age and how many years you've been around. Who are the guys you tend to gravitate towards to get that advice about maybe bowling on different conditions and how to get the ball to move and different things that you can do?
So basically, when I came into the side, there were a lot more senior players than that are there today. So when I came, there was Ashish Nehra who had played. I had played with Zahir Khan back then, and there were a lot more senior players. MS was still around. Yuvraj Singh was there, but now going forward, still a lot of new members have still come up. So I always, whenever I have a chat with any senior bowler, maybe it could be in the IPL or meeting them somewhere else. So just asking for general feedback. That what do you think is going on? We have Shane Bond in the IPL as well, so we've got a lot of experienced guys. So just talking to them, asking for feedback and what do you think? Are they keeping an eye that what is going on? Do they have any suggestions? And then just listening to them, doing a realistic evaluation, and then seeing how it goes.
Goodness me, listening to Jasprit talk there articulate so well, and I'm not talking about simple articulation, but I'm reminded that Mom Jasprit was a principal in your school. What are the pressures incumbent with having Mom as a principal in the school and Mom as a teacher principal in the home? What can you get away with? What can you not get away with?
But the main thing is, I don't see any benefits of my mom being a principal in school because, you know, every day's report would go to her. You have to go to school with her. there are not a lot of benefits of having a mom as a principal, but yes, she's given us very good values. She's taught us discipline. So I think probably all of those things, probably being hardworking, that has helped me in the game of cricket as well. So yeah, the negatives were that you can't do any mischief. You have to be that good boy in school. You have to probably, even if you don't want to, but you have to behave well in school, and then probably go back home, and the class never ends. She's there at home as well, isn't it? So the only where you could, maybe do a little bit of mischief is when you go out and play with your friends. So probably that is the place where, I started to enjoy a lot more, and maybe started to do a little bit of mischief, and started enjoying while playing cricket.
When Shaun mentioned Mali early on, he was talking about Lasith Malinga, who was alongside you at Mumbai Indians. Give us some insight into the conversations that you would have had and the learnings you would have had of such a great bowler for Mumbai and for Sri Lanka, and comparison of Yorkers, if any.
Uh, if you've had a conversation with Mali, he's not the easiest bloke to have a conversation, because sometimes, even if you know him for such a long period of time, you probably don't understand what he's talking. But yes, it's been a good relation with him. He's had a different action, so he shared some experiences that he had faced different kind of problems when he was growing up. He had told me many people had told him that he would not last for such a long period of time, and he had many difficulties while growing up as well. So he shared a lot of experiences. Not a lot of technical work was done with him, but maybe tactical discussions and how to use the Yorker a little bit better, because I played a lot of tennis ball cricket, so there I developed the Yorker, so I used it as my strength. So he's the best Yorker bowler in the world, so he's used it for such a long period of time to the best of his advantage. So uh, probably asking such questions, that how do I use it better, what can I get out of it, and in what situations I could use it. So probably all of these discussions were very good with him, but still sometimes understanding him is still difficult, but I try to get how much I can.
I'm disappointed that you've given it away that he has a better Yorker than you do.
He does absolutely.
Was Yorker brilliant? Lasith Malinga at his best.
Well, nicely bowled. We love to see those Yorkers.
Talking about the IPL, obviously you burst onto the scene. Your first wicket, Virat Kohli. Your first one-day wicket, Steve Smith. Your first T20 wicket, David Warner. And your first Test wicket, A.B. de Villiers. Now, those are pretty big names in the current era of international cricket. What is it about these big names and you knocking them over with your first opportunity?
I guess they're very big names, and I guess I was a little lucky that I got such good players as my first wicket. But not thinking about all of those things, that I wanted to, get the main guys out when I was getting my first wicket. At that moment, it was just that, okay, I've got one. Now nobody can take this one wicket away from me. So yeah, uh, focusing on my strengths has always worked for me. Believing myself that I could, whenever I play a game, that I would be able to create an impact, and I could make a major role and try to help the team to win the game. So yeah, good start so far, good wicket so far, getting them as my first wicket. But yeah, let's see how it goes in the future.
Oh, it's up and it's out. There's another two in a row. Bumrah, the man, once again.
We're talking bowling. I mean, I'm privileged to have you two gentlemen here to discuss this. Pace is something that is very difficult to come by. So I just want to preface my question by saying, as I look back on my career, I took my youngest daughter, my younger daughter, 10 years old, to see where I lived when I was growing up. It was on a hillside, about quarter of a mile up a hill, and there wasn't really pipe-borne water. So we used to have to take two big buckets or two big bottles about this big, full each with water, and walk for about half a mile from where we fill those up a hill. So I look back and I see where my strength came from in my legs, my shoulders, etc. Where do you gentlemen think, Jasprit, to start off with you, that pace comes from in your unique ability?
So now, when we were kids, we used to play a lot of cricket. We used to play everywhere. We used to play till the light was out. So early in the morning, when we were having a school vacation, we used to play all the time. So I don't know the reason why the pace was always there, but when I started bowling with the tennis ball, the pace was there. Maybe I copied that action of somebody I saw on the television, or maybe it was natural. But yeah, we used to play all the time, and maybe the stamina developed because of that. But the exact reason that why the pace developed and the strength was there to bowl quick, I don't have the answer to that.
Is it in your DNA, Shaun? Is it something that is genetic to guys who can get the ball above 140, above 145, heading to 150?
Yeah, Bishan, you boasting about why you've got such big guns, eh? Because you used to carry that water. But I think there are I think there are certain things that will definitely contribute to you being able to bowl quickly. And Jasprit's got a lot of those attributes. Obviously, the fast twitch fibers. There's certain guys, no matter what you did, they weren't going to bowl 130, 140. You can think of many bowlers you played against in the nets and in the times growing up. They just don't have those fast twitch fibers to be able to get the body to move that speed to be able to release the ball. I think that the three big things for me, first of all, I reckon the hip, the right hip coming through early, and then almost a delay in the arm and waiting to come over, and then the flick of the wrists at the end bit to give you that extra bit of speed. I think Jasprit's got all that. I know he's got a little bit of a stuttering run up, but eventually he gets into the position where his right hip does come through. There's a delay as to when that arm comes over, and then when it does catapult, there's a flick of the wrist to go with it. And I think that's why he's got those attributes and has that ability to bowl really quick. I mean, the run up. What is the run up? The run up's there to make sure you get enough momentum. So you've got to be going quick enough, but you can't afford to be going too fast, because then you'll be rushed and you won't be able to get into those strong positions to get the hip through and to delay the arm coming through. So although the start of his run up might look a lot different to what we see from other bowlers, when he gets into that position, that delivery, he's really strong, and his timing of the hip coming through, the arm being delayed, and the flick of the wrist is superb. And I think that's where his pace comes from. Whether he stumbled across it by accident, as he said. I think also there's an art to this bowling with a tennis ball. I think a lot of guys, they have to try and find a way to get that tennis ball down the other side as quick as possible. We used to tape ours up. I don't think Mali and Jasprit used to tape theirs. But I suppose that teaches you the art of how the timing needs to be so good to get a ball that's a lot softer and a lot lighter than a cricket ball down the other end at high speed. So there must be some merit to spending a bit of time with a tennis ball and trying to bowl quick with it.
Jasprit and Shaun, Jasprit in particular, this is important, I suppose, for youngsters watching. Mark Wood, a contemporary of yours, bowled for much of his career off a short run, had a lot of injuries, and only recently, in the last, I suppose, year or so, lengthened his run-up. He's since become a World Cup winner, 50 over World Cup. He has gotten wickets at a cheaper rate compared to early on in his career. Talk to me about what you think are the benefits of that shortish run compared to Mark Wood or anyone else who have lengthened or have that. We can think of Michael Holding, Shoaib Akhtar, Waqar Younis, a lot of these guys.
So for me, this has worked. So, but every individual is different. Something works for someone, some things don't. So for me, this has worked. I've tried bowling with a longer run up, but it didn't really increase my pace, or there was not a lot of difference for me physically. It felt the same, that when I'm bowling with a shorter run up, the pace is still the same. And so I thought this does help me when I play test matches, because when I'm bowling my fourth spell, fifth spell, I'm coming back again and again. So I'm relatively fresh than the bowlers who play with me and have a longer run up. Most of the time just tired running around bowling with such a long run up. So this was my theory, that all my life I've played tennis ball cricket, and I've played all my cricket with this run up, and I'm relatively fresh. And this is not the best thing that I should say, but I'm bowling quicker than them in my fourth spell as well. So I think I should stick to it, and I should, keep on going with it. And if I have some physical difficulties and if it's giving me some trouble, then you find solutions. But if it's not broken, why to fix it?
Tests, ODIs, or T20 cricket, do you have a preference?
For me, yes, I love Test cricket. I know that's not a new thing that almost all the youngsters that people who are younger than me have I've met them and they want T20 cricket and a big fan of T20 cricket. But I was a 90s kid growing up. All I watched was Test matches and I always wanted to play Test matches and I've played Test matches. So for me, Test match is my favorite format and I just love playing Test match cricket.
Well, that's great. I've got two little questions for you. First of all, are you a watcher? Are you a guy who will go back and watch your past performances to see if you can learn anything from it or pick up some confidence from it? And also, on the local, or not local, on the international scene, is there certain individuals and other teams which you try and maybe get a one-up on? You know, for example, is there Mitchell Stark or Kahisa Rabada that in many ways you feel like you want to outperform to try and get up those rankings?
So I do keep an eye on each and everything because I've learned all my cricket by watching. So I keep an eye on my previous performance as well. That try to keep an eye that what I did well. So try to replicate it again and again. So that is a thing that I always keep an eye and maybe keeping an eye on everyone, be it any other cricket team is playing, any other league. You know, you could pick up something from anywhere. I'm not a person who would compare my performances to another individual because I feel everybody has their own journey. Yes, to keep an eye on them is good because maybe I could pick up one or two things from them. But yeah, I always enjoy fast bowling. Be it the Ashes, maybe I would watch the Ashes. Somebody else was bowling quick. I just love to enjoy and watch fast bowling. So maybe from there, watching, probably learning from that series which is going on, and probably trying emulating in my bowling.
What are the transitions in terms of length that you have to make? And Shaun, you can jump in here at any point in time as well. From test match cricket bowling to 50 over cricket bowling, where you have to bowl at the death, you have to bowl in the middle, new ball, and T20 bowling. What adjustments have to be made? How hard or challenging is that?
So for me, when I played my first Test match in South Africa, I was not used to bowling in such different kind of wickets because that was my first time in South Africa. There was a lot more bounce, lot more seam. So when we play in India, we tend to bowl a lot fuller because we have to use reverse swing in first class cricket to get wickets, or maybe try to swing the ball early up. But back in that Test series when I played against South Africa in the first innings, I tried bowling the Indian lengths, tried to bowl a little too full, so the South African batsmen played me a lot better. They drive the ball on the rise over there. So that was something new. So quickly in the second innings, we had to adjust that you could bowl to afford to bowl a little shorter over there, try to seam the ball because there was a lot more bounce. So all of these challenges are very interesting for me. I always look for such challenges. So then after that, we went to England, the ball swings. So you again have to go fuller. Australia, there's a little different bit of bounce here and there with the different ball. So all these challenges are very interesting, and you have to keep on evolving and adapting to different kind of countries and their lengths that is more successful in that country.
Is that your experience, Shaun?
Yeah, I think it's challenging, isn't it, Bush? I mean, in many ways, it's probably more beneficial for him to go from learning an Indian length and then going to the rest of the world, because to bring your length back is pretty easy compared to if you grow up in South Africa where we hit 6.5 meters or 6 meters back over length, and then having to learn the art of how we can be effective on the subcontinent surfaces where in Test cricket you need to be fuller, but in one-day cricket also you need to be shorter. So even between the different formats of the game, you have to adjust. You know, what a good length in Test cricket to try and get them onto the front foot when they may be hanging back is probably 5.5, 6 meters. But when you're playing in a one-day international and you've got people like Chris Gayle looking to come at you to get onto the front foot and hit you over the top, you've actually got to bring your length back about a meter. And then you also find on days, is it swinging? Okay, well, it is swinging. There is a bit of movement. I can go fuller. Or after 5 balls, you work out, hold on, there's nothing going on. I need to bring my length back. And I think it's an art that's underrated and not appreciated as much as it could be. Adjusting from the different formats and also adjusting to the different conditions, like Perth length compared to Mumbai's length or Kolkata's length is completely different. And I think the good bowlers are the ones that adjust pretty quickly. That's always why the preparation before a Test match or a one-day international is so vital, to try and work out what your length, because it varies for different people. I might be 6, Jasprit might be 5. And you have to work it out for yourself, quickly adapt, and then be able to deliver.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic is someone that you've said publicly you have an admiration for. What is it about him that appeals to you? Are there any similarities in the way you go about your life?
So he's a different kind of sportsman. The personalities, though the people who watch football might be knowing a lot about him, but the personality is a lot different than my personality. But the story that I could relate to it is that not many people really thought that he would make it big. There was similar. That was a similar case with me growing up as well. Wherever I went, people usually this was the general feedback that this guy won't, do anything. Probably he won't be the top-rated bowler anyway. He won't be able to play for a long period of time. He won't be able to uh, probably do well as a bowler anywhere because with this kind of action, he would just bowl here and there and probably won't be successful. So, but having the self-belief and the only validation that is required is your own validation. So I saw that in his story, so that is the thing that I could relate to it as well. So because that is the thing that I like, so that helped me as well. That the only validation that you require in this day and age is your own validation. If doesn't it doesn't really matter if the world thinks you're a good bowler or a bad bowler or however you are, but if you think that you could do it, that was the only validation that will help you moving forward, and that would always help you to do well wherever you are in your field and in your career.
The more important question about this now connecting it to Zlatan is, are you a Manchester United supporter?
So basically, I'm not a Manchester United supporter. I used to follow him wherever he goes. I used to follow him. So he was there in Manchester for a brief period of time. So back then I would be, but now, right now, he's in AC Milan. So I'm an AC Milan supporter now.
Okay, now I forgive you. That's good. I'm
Trans
happy with
transient supporter. My goodness, very fleeting. Serious business for the two of you, Shaun. And first of all, the T20 World Cup potentially in October, November, if it is moved, we or postponed. There's nothing we can do about that. I'll give Jasprit a little time to think about this, Shaun. What do you think are India's chances in this World Cup, and or who do you see as favourites?
Yeah, I think India will always go into any competition as one of the favourites, if not the favourites. I think their bowling attack is fantastic. They've shown that the fast bowlers can do the job wherever they go in the world. They've always got the spin options if the surface does offer that. And with the IPL and the amount of T20 cricket they play, even the younger guys trying to break through have had such wonderful experiences with experienced players in that competition and learn so much from them. So, yeah, you can never count India out. I think Australia would still hold themselves as favourite because of the conditions. But India can't be very far behind that, and I'm sure they go really well. And let's hope that that tournament does take place. I think that would be the real step towards normality to have an international tournament taking place after this virus.
Jasprit, where are India's chances in this impending World Cup?
So we were really preparing well for it. We had a lot of T20 games before the World Cup as per the old schedule. And if everything would have been on plan, so we would have played IPL as well. So we would have had a fair number of T20 games. So that would have helped us prepare really well for the tournament. But we would always like to believe that, we have got a very good team. We've got a very good setup in our country. So I think we would always want to believe that, yes, we could win the tournament. This is how we felt in the 2019 World Cup. But how the game goes. In a matter of half an hour, 40 minutes, the game can change here and there.
A couple of West Indian players told me in the last couple of weeks, they say the hardest thing for them is not knowing when they will possibly play cricket again and to keep up the training, not knowing when to peak, when to increase, or when to just plateau off. Difficult?
For me, it is difficult as well because you don't know when is the next tournament. So you always need some kind of motivation. You know that if there's a tournament, you could see something in your eye that, okay, the tournament is right in front of you. So then you would up the ante, you could train hard. But for me, I'm taking it in another aspect because we don't know when cricket will start again. When are we going to start playing tournaments? So I'm looking at it uh, as a way that you could renew your own body. So you will never get such a break ever again. So I'm just looking at, even if you have small niggles here and there, you could be a refreshed person. You could, when you come back, you can prolong your career and you could just take care of your body and try to uh, maintain it very well right now, and whenever you come back, so then 2 3 years down the line you would have no problems at all, play with zero niggles and probably perform a lot better like you were performing before.
For sure, I'm in the same boat. I don't know when that next round of golf is.
All right. Final question. And Jasprit, you said you had one cheat meal when you toured South Africa, one for the entire tour. Tell me that during this lockdown, you haven't had a couple of cheat meals.
Oh, I've had a lot of cheat meals in
CHEAT.
this once or twice, because when you're at home, so I don't know how to cook. So my mother is cooking, so I can't tell her that okay, this is the dish that you have to cook. Whatever she's cooking, I have to roll with it. If she's cooking whatever she wants to cook, she wants to have a cheat meal, which we fe- which we she feels that it is a good way to go. I have to eat. So I have no power in that, and I'm just following whatever my mother feels like making, and then I have to follow the same diet.
Shaun, the advice, last question. Advice to young cricketers who will be looking on at this interview, who will be watching international cricket when it restarts. What advice, what words do you have to give to young players and to young fans in this unprecedented time?
Yeah, it's a very challenging time. Obviously there is an opportunity to learn a lot about yourself, and I think Jasprit's touched on it a little bit, and to make sure that when you do come out of this period, that you're better prepared for the challenges you're going to face. Can you develop a new kind of delivery? Can you take your strength and your game to the next level? From a mindset perspective, what can you do to be mentally stronger? So there are parts of your game that you can work on, and I think it is frustrating for all of us involved. It's also given us a new respect for cricket and how much we love the game and how much we enjoy participating, whether it be in the commentary box or on the field. So let's hope it doesn't take too long. And as Jasprit mentioned, re-energized, ready to go, maybe with a few extra skills, and as strong as you can possibly be will be the game plan going forward.
Jasprit, to you as well. And consider for me, please, no use of saliva, no high-fiving, no hugging. When cricket restarts, how are you going to cope? And talk to the fans for me.
So for me, I was not much of a hugger anyway when, when we used to play cricket, and not a high five person as well. And I don't celebrate a lot, so that doesn't really trouble me a lot. But the only thing that interests me is the saliva bit, because I don't know if what are the guidelines that we have to follow when we come back. But I feel there should be an alternative, because anyways, bowling nowadays is a lot difficult, and if the ball is not well maintained, it's difficult for the bowlers because the grounds are getting shorter and shorter, the wickets are being flatter and flatter. So we need something, some alternative for the bowlers to keep the ball maintained. So then it would at least do something, or it would maybe reverse in the end, or whatever it is, maybe conventional swing. But an alternative, I'm sure an alternative would be found soon, and that would help the game of cricket.
No, I can't let you get away with that, Shaun, because the pitches in the last 2 or 3 years, the pitches around the world, you've got the Duke's ball in England, the ball swung around corners from day one to the last day. In the Caribbean, there are grass pitches at Sabina Park, which you enjoyed, and in Antigua. So many countries, Jasprit, where fast bowling in Test match cricket is coming back. How can you say that bowling is getting harder in Test match cricket?
I don't know about it if it's getting easier or not, but I'm saying in general. So in in Test
Right.
match cricket, yes, that is why it's my favorite format, because we have something over there. In one-day cricket and T20 cricket, one-day cricket, there are two new balls. The ball hardly reverses at the end. When I was a kid, I used to see on the television the ball used to reverse so much at the end, and used to enjoy bowling Yorkers. And even in T20 cricket, we played in New Zealand. The grounds were 50 meters. So even if you don't want to hit a six, it could go for six. So so in that aspect, I was saying that it's a little difficult for a bowler to, probably find a way what to do. So yeah, in that aspect, in Test match cricket, I have no problems. I'm very happy with the way things are going.
So,
But I'm
okay,
with
I'm
you, and
glad we compartmentalized on that last question.
I can't believe Ian Bishop is standing
What?
up for the batsman and saying that there's maybe
He should be.
something for us.
He was a fast bowler as well. You
Exactly, he
should
should
be
be
in
on
the
our
fast
side.
bowlers team.
He should be on our side.
No, I am on the fast bowler side. I was just saying to Jasprit that to me, fast bowling in Test match cricket, if we compartmentalize it, we have to compartmentalize three forms. Test cricket is wonderful now, and the pitches are critical to the whole standard of cricket that we're seeing. So I'm not contradicting you at all, Jasprit or Shaun. Not at all. I'm agreeing. Maybe
Okay,
Shaun.
you're just saying
I think
that Jasprit's making it look so easy.
Well, he does make it look easy. He got wickets for nothing in the Caribbean last year.
So
Perfect.
that has something to do with luck as well sometimes. But the
No,
other
no, no,
thing
no, no, no,
that
no,
but
no, no.
but the general concept, whenever you play, I've heard the batsmen, not in our team, everywhere complaining the ball is swinging, but the ball is supposed to swing and the ball is supposed to do something. We are not here just to give throwdowns, isn't it? This is the same thing that I tell the batsmen all the time. Whenever you play in one-day cricket, they say, "Oh, the ball reversed." When did the ball reverse last? I don't remember. Whenever the new ball doesn't swing a lot nowadays as well. So whenever I've seen batsmen, they say, okay, the ball is swinging or the ball seamed. That is why I got out. But the ball is supposed to do that. So because it doesn't happen so much in the other formats, it's a new thing for the batsmen as well when they see the ball is swinging or seaming sometimes.
Well, I'm glad it's on this free shot as we finish, because in virtual reality, the man to your left, Shaun Pollock, I don't know if Shaun is still on any committees, whether it's MCC committee or ICC committee. Shaun, where are you placed? But Jasprit's claim and complaint about the white ball needing to reverse in 50 over and T20 cricket is one you need to carry.
Yeah, I'm on the ICC Cricket Committee, and we are carrying it, Bish. We are discussing, coming up with opportunities and possibilities. Watch the space. I can't give away too much information, but as is always the case,
Scoops.
plenty of batsmen on the committee. I'm always fighting for the bowlers.
But just remember, you were a
Jasprit, thank
bowler
you.
first, so you should be on our side.
Definitely.
Listen, gentlemen, we could go on talking about cricket for a long period of time. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm sure the viewers, the listeners would have enjoyed this as well. Shaun, thank you very much for your time and all the best as we hope that things revert to normal somewhere in South Africa, in India too as well. Jasprit, I know that you're a busy man. Thank you very much for your time on this edition of Interviews Inside Out.